Thank you.
Welcome to Angels Talk, Soul Relationships. Here's your host, Sandra Lynch.
Well, hello, and thank you for taking your time to stop, look, and listen in our divine appointment here today on another episode of Angels Talk. I'm Sandra, and I'm very excited, and I'm honored, and truly honored to say that I'm here with the one, the only one in America who is a success scientist, Dr. Michael Cioppa. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
Welcome to the fun Fort Wayne and the #1 access station in the nation.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm happy to be here.
Yes, all the way from
Albany, New York.
Yes. Tell me, why did you commit to coming on my show today?
Well, as you mentioned, America's Success Scientist, one of the things that I want to do, and really I guess my mission statement is I am driven by people who have lots of potential and who just always ask themselves the question, why don't they succeed? Why don't they get out of life what they want? So I saw this as another absolute wonderful opportunity to be able to get that message out, let people know that they can move forward, that good things can happen to them, and I thought this would be a perfect venue with you to do that.
Well, give yourself permission here today as the architect of your destiny to share with everybody and assist with everyone out there, because I see you as Michelangelo, the voice of America, and that's very exciting to me. Tell everybody, what is the truth about success today?
Well, I mean, the truth is, most people are waiting for something to happen. Most people are waiting for magic to happen in their life. And the truth is, we can design our own success. It needs to be planned for. We hear people who talk about things like goal setting. We hear people who talk about all these little success principles, but nobody's actually doing any of them. And it's a road that automatically will unfold, that automatically will happen, but we have to pursue it. And that's the truth about success. It's really the key to success is this one sentence. It is a few simple things practiced every day. It's persistence and consistency.
Is that a universal truth?
Yeah, it is to me. It's a universal truth because, Anthony Robbins years ago, he used to have a little saying that said that success leaves clues. And that's really true. If I look at somebody who's successful and I want to be like them or I want to have that same kind of success that they have, all I need to do is do what they're doing. It has to work. It is universal. It's not playing favorites. God's not playing favorites.
Well, Michael, I have to share this part about our coming together, how we came together on the show today. Would you like to tell everyone in your own words?
Sure.
Short story.
Short story is I was doing a seminar in Indianapolis, and you were there and showed up to assist in that seminar. And we met, and then actually, 2 days later, we came to Fort Wayne, did the same thing again. And I guess that's the long and the short of it. And one thing kind of led to another, and now here we are.
I remember distinctly, Michael, that one of your very first questions to me was, tell me about the access station.
Yes.
Tell me about the television station.
Yes.
I want to know.
Yes.
I want to know everything. I want to know what you're doing. So it was like, to me, I was feeling, oh my gosh, this guy is really interested in seeing an opportunity.
Yes.
Making an opportunity out of an obstacle is what I was sensing.
Yes.
So.
Well, it's something that I've been interested in. And then I could see your belief in it, and it just was something that just clicked with me, and I just had to know more about it. I had to know what you were doing. I had to try to find out how to do it myself, which was the next step. But, there was this just immediate connection with you, absolutely.
And there are no mistakes. So every step of the way is like the steps that you talk about in your book. Every step leads up to the next.
Yes, every step.
In every chapter.
Yes, every step builds on another. And there are just certain foundational things that we need to get a hold of, and then begin that slow, steady process of not having success necessarily overnight, but just that slow, steady process of bringing us where we need to be.
It's like a discovery to recover and uncover, to me, I'm going to say, God's beauty.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know, I'll tell you what, the most fun part about that discovery process is that most people have had a time in their life when things didn't go so well. Most people have had a time in their life where they regret certain things that they've done, certain things that they've happened, certain things that they may have caused. But as you move away from that, that's the exciting part. And as you see life unfold, and as you see yourself taking those few simple things practiced every day, and doors start opening up, that's the real exciting part. And that's the part that I like. You know, coaching people through that, asking them the right questions, trying to find out why they do what they do, trying to find out how they think, and how letting people know that their beliefs shape their reality.
Beliefs shape reality. I'm sitting here and I'm looking at you in your spiritual, and wondering what your spiritual beliefs, how they relate to the reality that you have created with all of this success.
Well, you can't separate the two, and I'm in a unique position. I call it a unique position, and my unique position is that I am by trade and by training a scientist. I mean, literally, I hold a PhD in neuropsychology. So by training, I'm a scientist. However, there is also the spiritual side, which not everything necessarily can be explained away by science. And then there is that balance of saying, well, I have my own beliefs and I am a Christian. However, there is also being science-based. I want to make sure that I am constantly moving toward the truth wherever that leads me. And I think that's the important part, is we need to move towards the truth in whatever path, whatever shape, whatever form that takes us. And sometimes it may not be in a spot or a place or bring us to a place that we expected. It may not be. I always say the 7 most important words that we can say is, don't confuse sincere belief with the truth.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I remember you talking about that within the workshop.
Yes.
I'm going to call it a fun shop because it was. It was fun and exciting as I watched myself learn and grow. And I really took a grasp to that statement, and
Yes.
and it helped me to re-identify and reshape what I'm
Yes.
doing. And
Yes.
the
Well,
exciting thing is you're here to tell everyone.
Yes, well, you know, we do. We need to challenge our beliefs. We've grown up with some things that may or may not be right. Our parents, they didn't have a training class. We don't know. Some of them may have said some things that they shouldn't, treated us in a way. So we have shaped our beliefs by our educational levels, by all these things that we've done. And so now we filter information through those beliefs, and they may not be true. And so we need to challenge our beliefs every day. We need to ask ourselves, is what I'm believing today still useful? Maybe I believed some things 5 years ago that was useful for me, that was helpful for me, but now as my life has changed, as my friends have changed, as the world has changed, as I have learned more, just have gained more knowledge, are those beliefs still useful today? And that's really the start of, and I call it success. And success is really, am I living out what God would have me do? Am I being able to see a plan for my life? Am I, living, and I guess you may call it, within my own truth? But that's really where it starts, is challenging those beliefs. You know, I just love it, and I know there have been books written about it, the battlefield of the mind. It really happens up here.
That was really good that you are inclusive with God and science. And I'm wondering what your voice is going to share about, what does God see for success and wealth? What is God's truth to see for success and wealth?
Well, I can tell you this, that the definition of science, to me, should be the study of how God does things. That should be the
really?
definition of science. Science, we think many times is, how many times is the atom split? And we ask ourselves all of these questions. But the truth is, God already knows those answers. And we need to say to ourselves, how does he do things? And studying God really is studying science. Now, the unique thing is that everything that's been learned about the brain has been learned since 1995 or 1997. 95% of what was known about it prior to that was wrong. Now, 15 years from now, we're going to find out that 95% of what we believe today is probably wrong or
Yeah.
can be tweaked or changed a bit. So it is an unfolding process. However, we have to understand where we are today before we can get to where we need to be
Do you think it might
tomorrow.
be just a change of perception? from then to now, and then later?
Well, perception on how we...
On how they're seeing it.
Yes, on how they're seeing it, on how we think things through. However, there are just some parts of the brain that were discovered over the last 3 years that were not known about previous. So some of it is real hard science. But the biggest thing with success is that, again, it is up here. It is changing the way we think, because however the process is up here, that's where the perception is for us. I mean, if I perceive myself as successful, if I do things in my life that I believe is moving me in the right direction, as I set goals for myself, and as I reach those goals, people talk about self-esteem. Self-esteem is really setting some small goals for yourself, achieving those small goals, and then no one can take that feeling away from me. I don't have to depend on you telling me, Mike, you're wonderful. I don't have to depend or be afraid of somebody not liking me. Why? Because it is self, and so that's the perspective that we want to have. I want to achieve some things. I want to find out what, if you want to call it what God, I'll call it what God's plan is for my life. I want to move in that direction. I want to communicate with God each day so that I'll be directed and take those right steps. I also want to put action to that. The story in the Bible of David and Goliath, it said, and we remember Goliath. Goliath was the giant and David was the young kid. And it said something very interesting in that story. It said that David ran toward the giant. Now, I think that was intentional. He ran toward the giant. He ran toward the thing that he was most afraid of. And so I believe that was intentional, because if he stood there and prayed about it for another half hour, now I think we need to do that, but if he stood there and prayed about it for another half hour, he may have started getting scared. He might have been just, with the rest of Israel, terrified to do battle. But he ran toward the giant. Once he knew what he had to do, he didn't second guess himself. And I believe that that's what we need to do. There are some universal truths that I've talked about in the past. There are some, once we pray, once we know what God wants us to do, we need to run toward the giant.
Do the thing that you fear the most.
Yes.
The fear will disappear.
Because, yes, that's right. There's an old saying that when...
Yes.
There's an old little saying that says, when fear knocks at your door, if you answer it with faith, no one will be there.
Oh.
Because fear cannot stand in the way with faith.
They don't reside together.
They don't reside together, and we need to know that fear has not come from God. And so when you see fear come in on a situation and you're concerned about something, first thing that you should do, rather than continue to work on that problem, the first thing we should do is say, hey, wait a second, first I better deal with this fear, because this fear is going to paralyze me, because fear didn't come from God. And so I need to take care of that first. Get rid of that, and then I can begin to work on what I'm concerned about.
Well, I can say that fear is disappearing live right here, right now on the show today, because we had a few things that we were overcoming before we
that is so true.
Let God direct it.
Yes, well, and we mentioned that just before the show, that there is opportunity in adversity. And so we need to welcome adversity. We need to welcome that. Otherwise, again, we'll freeze up, we'll be paralyzed, we won't move through that.
The name of your last book,
yes.
Refresh me.
Yes, it is Success is Not a Miracle, The Science of Achievement.
How did that happen?
It happened really, it wasn't by design. I didn't set out and say I'd like to write a book. I began to write lots of articles for internet sites. People asked me to write things for several colleges and universities for parts of some of their business courses. I began to do that, and all of a sudden I looked at it, and so many people had asked me to do and to write. I said, gee, I think I have the beginning of a book here. And that's really how it unfolded. Further back than that, it unfolded with my frustration of people having lots of potential and never fulfilling it and never living that out. And to me at the time, now that's not a frustration, now it's something that I need to do something about. At the time it was a frustration, and I decided, let's compile these articles, let's add some more to it, let's think about this a little bit, create a book, and maybe that will be the first step into creating some change in people.
So, and that book is designed to help catapult people.
Yes,
quickly.
And it's designed to show that success is not a miracle. I'm not waiting for magic to happen in my life. I'm going to take some proactive steps. And so it walks you through the book from the very beginning with these universal laws, sowing and reaping. I say the Bible is the world's greatest success book. Every speaker that you see, every motivational person that you can go to, everything is grounded in the Bible. Now, they may not always say that because of political correctness, depending on the group that they're talking.
Yeah, but now with the change, it's like spirituality and science coming out of the
Yes.
closet with utilizing God as their source and their
Yes.
force within all things that they're doing.
Yes.
And I see it. I see it everywhere in the vision.
Yes. Oh, yes. So true. It's happening. Well, the other thing that's interesting is in the United States, it says that 95% of the people believe in God. And so it is ripe. This is the time then to start talking about it.
Yes.
This is the time to start taking advantage of that. This is the time to start saying and unfolding some of those principles that make sense in a way that's, I like to say in a way that's non-threatening, in a way that we're not shoving those things down people's throat, but in a way that presents them with the truth. And that now all of a sudden they can take their reality, put it up against the truth of what's really happening, and maybe they can begin to make some different decisions for themselves. Life is about decisions.
I see all of the laws encompassing the divine law, the man-made law, the scientific
Yes.
law, the holy laws, all of them. And that's very exciting. In one world, one dream, in the spirit of unity.
Yes.
That's the vision of Angels at God Central
Yes.
Station. What do you think about that? Do you have anything to add on that?
Well, I think that vision will unfold into absolute reality as more of these conversations happen, as that ministry continues to grow, as it gets hooked up and with other ministries, because the truth, really it is, as people discover the truth, there will be that one world. There will be that oneness. It has to happen that way. And so what you're doing is just beginning to unfold that just a little bit sooner.
Oh, thank you, Michael. Truly, you are an angel. I think, too, all of the voices of diversities, talking and listening with heartfelt divine love.
Yes.
That is that grounded
Yes.
assurance.
Yes. And that, again, goes back to me with the science and the spiritual part, and I need to have that balance because, yes, I have my spiritual beliefs, but I also know that the real underlying quest is that search for truth, and wherever that leads, I need to follow that, and not just me, certainly, so does everyone else.
Now, you have another book coming out here in the near future.
Yes.
What's the title of that
I
book?
do, and unfortunately, it is I can't even give you the title
Okay,
yet.
well, let's tell everybody who the book is with.
Yeah,
the collaboration.
Yes, it is with Stephen Covey, Brian Tracy. Stephen Covey, of course, from 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Brian Tracy from just many, many books, tapes, series, video.
Psychology
of Achievement, probably one of his most well-known, and one that's been around probably the longest. So it is a compilation. There will be a number of authors getting together and doing this. There are 3 or 4 titles that are still being kicked around. It's one of the last things that are being decided on. It will hopefully be published in January, we're looking at, of this year.
2006.
2006, or actually, yes, this coming year, 2006. And so as that unfolds, we will keep you up to date. But it's happening. It's just powerful. It's going to be just a powerful book, I believe, for change.
Very exciting.
To institute that, yes.
All of the voices coming together.
Yes.
And serving as that one voice.
Yes.
One voice.
Well, they had done a series of these Mission Possible books over the years. And this is sort of a trying to decide where it's going to be. Is this going to be called Mission Possible, the 10th edition, where they have some invited people who are going to be involved in that? Or are they going to call it something else? And so we're kind of waiting for that to unfold.
I'm sitting here thinking about your halo. I see a halo above your head.
Trying to catch it.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about some of the habits that you talk about within the last book. We're going back to
Yes.
the last book. What are some of those habits? Some of the divine inspirations from a scientist, from America's scientists?
Well, there's lots of simple things that I talk about first in the book. I try to walk people through, as I mentioned first, some of those universal truths. And those universal truths are things like sowing and reaping, that if you want love, and you talk about love lots, if you want it, you have to sow it, you have to give it. Whatever it is that we want out of life, we need to give that to others. If we want to be great, we need to serve lots of people. Forget about what we want, what we're going after. Yeah, there's got to be some goals up there, but really do it for the benefit of other people. I believe that we get blessed not just to accumulate stuff and wealth and things, but to be a blessing to other people. Mm-hmm. I talk about things in the book on how to make better decisions, on what we're really driven by and motivated by. There's a chapter on how we're really so motivated by pain and pleasure, that we are constantly moving away from pain and toward pleasure. Now, that is not always the best thing to do. That does not always make the best decisions for us, but unless we know that that's what's happening up here, we can't change it, and we'll be ruled by this pain and pleasure principle. So I don't always necessarily want to move away from pain, because sometimes there's some painful things that I need to face in order to get myself to that next step, to that next level. But if we don't understand that we are constantly making decisions when we're not well thought out that move us away from pain and toward pleasure, we will be a slave to that principle. Talk about things later on in the book, which I believe is some of the most important things that we could know, is exactly how beliefs are formed in our minds. There's a part of cognitive psychology and cognitive therapy that talks about automatic thoughts, that when we hear something, it automatically triggers up here a thought. And just like the pain-pleasure principle, we can become a slave to those automatic thoughts unless we challenge our thoughts. Talks about things like Imagineering in the book. And
I love that word.
Oh, it's Imagineering is being able to quickly make permanent changes in myself. I mean, literally now, with the advent of this of so much new brain science, you are able to change some of your neural pathways and neural circuitry by thinking techniques. And so, whether you want to change a habit, whether you want to become more motivated or more focused, you are able to use thinking techniques several times a day that literally your brain will begin to change, will begin to rewire itself, so that under a PET scanner or a SPECT scanner, a month, 6 weeks later, your brain will literally look different as that change implements itself or institutes itself in your brain. Which really is what we were talking about earlier with, you can, to some degree, form your own reality. I mean, you can come up with a plan in order to do that. And it's exciting now that there is a real way of doing it, that there is a scientific way of helping to create that. The exciting thing to me is that science is now proving God's principles.
I hear that. I hear it's the creation story from science.
Yes. Well, years ago, people thought science would disprove
I
all
heard
of
that
those.
too.
Yes, and so many scientists were out to disprove biblical principles, were out to disprove people's spirituality, and that it really meant nothing. But now, in their quest to disprove it, they have actually proven many of those, and that is just continuing on.
Isn't that magnificent?
It is, yes, but it is God ordained.
Yeah.
It was meant to be this way.
Yes. I think it's God ordained that we're here together.
Oh, it is.
And our paths crossing. Mm-hmm. I never expected to be in Indianapolis the day I was there.
Yes.
I never expected to meet you. And if I remember correctly, I understood that you didn't really want a helper that day.
That's right. I did not. I was able. Well, because when somebody is there to help out, I have to get up earlier, I have to get to the seminar room earlier, and not being the greatest morning person in the world, that's not something I always look forward to.
Well, Michelangelo, we have a few moments left, and I would like to know, from the vision of your lips, how can Angels at God Central Station best support you?
You are doing it. your support.
Aw.
You are. You're doing it by asking me these questions, by having me on this show. You are doing it by showing your support. You are doing it by asking me input into Angels at God Central Station, allowing me to be a small part.
A big voice, small part. Yeah.
But all of those things together, just unfolds a bigger vision.
Yes. Will you come back on the show when you find out what the title of the next book is?
I would love to.
Maybe bring Stephen Covey or Brian Tracy.
I would love
with
to.
You? Yes.
I will work on that for you.
Are there anyone else? Is there anyone else in that book?
There are several people. None that I actually have met. I've met both Stephen Covey, Brian Tracy. It kind of unfolded when I met Brian Tracy. But there are a number of good people, great stories to be told, overcoming adversity.
I can imagine, because over the last 15 years in the seminar and workshop business that I'm involved, I have shared thousands and thousands of their products, and I'm truly honored and excited about sharing this next product because it's a must. It's a must. It's the leader of the pack. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It's the angels going forth and clearing all the paths in the reality that I see. That's exciting to me.
It is exciting. I'm looking forward to it.
Our time is up, and truly I am honored and privileged to have you on our show today on another episode of Angels Talk in our soul relationship here.
Yes.
So will you help me end the show?
I sure will.
It's very easy and simple.
Okay.
Everybody loves it. Remember these words: divine love and holy kisses.
Okay.
And you can do whatever you want when you're sharing those words, okay? It goes like this. Thank you all again for taking your time to stop, look, and listen in our divine appointment here today on another episode of Angels Talk. I'm Sandra here with the one, the only one, America's success scientist, the Dr. Michelangelo Cioppa. I had to say that. And we're both here to say divine love and holy kisses.
A world of thanks for watching Angels Talk, Soul Relationships. If you have a question or comment for Sandra, please feel free to email her at sandra@angelsatgodcentralstation.org. That's Sandra, Sandra, at angelsatgodcentralstation, all one word, .org. We also invite you to visit our website, www.aagcs.org. Please join us again next week for another edition of Angels Talk.